Hello and welcome. Today we're gonna be taking a look at some r/confession. Let's see what deep dark secrets people are hiding. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. I now own my parents' house and plan to evict them. Hi folks, I hope you're all doing well and that you're getting a lot of your chests where needed. So this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. So I worked hard and bought my parents' house. Now I will admit this right from the start. I'm not a good person by doing what I am doing. I'll have to give a little bit of backstory to explain this whole thing. My parents married young, I wasn't planned, and when they were growing up, it was the standard thing that when you have a baby, you get your own place. It didn't matter if you rented or bought a place. So with my parents being young and with a baby on the way, they rented from this lovely fellow from Osaka, Japan, who we'll call Uncle Kiryu. Now, Uncle Kiryu was a wealthy man who made a lot of money from oil and property, but he started from nothing, so he knew that being young, you needed a helping hand to get people started. So he would rent out apartments and houses at lower than market rates for people who wanted a roof over their heads. He still made a profit, and because he had so many properties, he has always had steady income, whether there's a recession, floods, war, etc. Now, Uncle Kiryu was always generous to me and my family. Helped where he could, we even had him over for birthdays and New Year's. He once brought me to the dentist when I fell and broke a tooth at age 11, and he paid without question. Over time, as my parents got older, finished college, got better jobs, he helped them move from a one-bedroom apartment with no garden to a nice townhouse to a three-bedroom house right outside the city center in Dublin, all of which he owned and rented out to them. However, if Kiryu has a fault, he always tries to see the best in people, even if their flaws are staring him in the face. The reason I'm telling you so much about Uncle Kiryu is because he is very important in this story and because I literally owe him my life. About 12 years after they had me, they unfortunately were in a car accident and had numerous injuries. My dad cracked his ribs, tore a muscle in his back and dislocated both shoulders. My mom broke her leg in two places and shattered her right foot. Thanks to these injuries, they sadly lost their jobs. This was back when you could get away with making people redundant for long-term medical injuries. Thanks to the injuries and losing their jobs, they were stuck at home all day and could do very little except take painkillers and watch TV. I spent a lot of time with family, babysitters, or just hanging out with friends outside for at least a year while they recovered and went through rehab and surgeries. There is a part of long-term injuries that isn't always brought up: pain management. Between broken bones, torn muscles, and not being able to work, Mom and Dad were in pain and taking a lot of pills and injections just to function. And, well, pain medication can be quite addictive and can change you as a person. This was only too clear to see as my parents changed from proud, hard-working, loving people to addicts who cared about only getting a fix. Once they recovered from their injuries, they couldn't get pain pills anymore, so they switched to heroin and alcohol. Once that started, the abuse soon followed. They teased me about everything, making me feel bad about getting 92 on a test. Why didn't you get the other 8%? Stealing money I was making at a part-time job I had as a waitress in a hotel. It's in our house, so it's our money. Complaining about having to pay for new bras and clothes when I outgrew them, which I unfortunately did a lot, culminating in me learning to sew or make my own bra extenders and repair tears in my clothes and school uniform. To this day, I still have an emergency clothes fund as a just in case, guilting me into slowly doing more and more housework to the point my days literally consisted of get up, make their breakfast, go to school, occasionally go to work, come home, do the housework, make dinner, do homework, shower, bed. The moment that broke me was when I was 17. We had been fighting over something stupid. To this day, I still can't remember what, but I do remember what they said to me. Dad, you're just a lazy, good-for-nothing bitch. All you do is rip your clothes with your fat effing tits and complain. Even though we keep this roof over your head and food in the fridge, Mom. So shut up, you're worthless. You're just going to be a waitress all your life anyway. You're not worth a fiver. This was followed by a slap from Dad and my mom spitting on me. Have you ever heard the expression, you can't see the forest through the trees? Well, that damn day lit a fire under me and I got ready to burn the forest down. What followed was me putting all my time into school and work. This part will sound like I'm bragging. I don't mean to. I'll try to make it more factual and to the point. The next 5 years seemed to fly by in a month. I don't know how or why, but I turned into a machine and made something of myself. I finished my Living Cert, the equivalent of SATs for you lovely Yanks across the sea, and got into culinary college. Passed with flying colors and a very sticky croquembouche that fell on my teacher, and got a job as a prep chef in the hotel I was working at. Moved out of my parents' house and into an apartment. Thank you, Uncle Kiryu. Busted my ass and got promoted to commis chef, then line chef, and after about 3 years, sous chef. I wasn't the best chef there, far from it, but until I made sous chef I was paid hourly, so I worked every hour they would give me, and that earned me a lot of respect. Plus, I would always clear the oil and water drains in the kitchens, save up a lot of money for a rainy day. All the while, my parents fell deeper into their addictions. We kept our distance mostly, we saw each other on birthdays, Christmas, etc. Occasionally I'd get a call to borrow money for food. Here's a tip, if someone asks for food money, offer to bring them shopping. If they're genuine, they'll jump at the chance, if not, they'll run. Whenever I visit, their house has fallen into disrepair. Broken windows, torn wallpaper, burn marks everywhere, mold in the ceiling, etc. Broken plumbing. Seriously, I had to turn the water off to stop the second floor from being destroyed. Uncle Kiryu notices, but they won't let him in to fix the place up. The moment that made my attitude go from I'm going to make something of myself to I will destroy you was last Christmas. We went to a family get-together and it was the usual party. A big turkey, way too much mulled wine, tons of presses, old song about Old Lang Syne and everyone watching Mrs. Brown Boys. It's a popular show with our family. My lovely aunt was telling anyone who would listen how I helped save her daughter's wedding by catering the whole thing. I didn't, I just put her in contact with a friend of mine who specializes in wedding meals. And my dad, in his pill and mulled wine-induced stupor, decided to rant about my career. A caterer? A effing caterer? Oh no, I'm sorry, you're some big poncy chef. Why didn't you go into construction like me? Do something useful with your life, not some worthless career where all you do is peel potatoes all day. My mom, of course, decides to chime in and essentially mumbles some inordinate abuse, calling my work not a proper job, anyone can do it, a cow like you isn't worth a damn fiver. Now this is where they touch the nerve. I will admit, I'm a woman who has an ego when it comes to my work. I'm not at the level of Michelin star chefs, but I'm damn good at what I do. I worked hard to get there and I know it's worth something. Skipping forward a couple of weeks and I'm at my Uncle Kiryu's house for his New Year's party. He always celebrates it mid-January for some reason, and he's talking about work and how it's a good time to sell some of his properties that are vacant, and it hits me. What if I buy my parents' house? So Uncle Kiryu and I get talking and he realizes that with the house in such a state of disrepair, it would cost a lot of repairs, so he agrees to sell it to me at a cheaper price rather than having it fixed up first. I'm not proud of this, but I convinced, more like lied, to him that I wanted to buy the place to ensure my parents would always have a roof over their heads. When it took nearly 6 months and this crisis didn't help, but soon enough I got the confirmation from my lawyer and estate agent that I now own my parents' 3-bedroom house and I'm their new landlord. As part of the sale, I asked Uncle Kiryu to organize the transfer of rent payments to a new bank account that I set up. And I've had him work as my intermediary with them, so they haven't had to meet their new landlord yet. I can't evict them yet, there is currently a freeze on eviction in my country. But once the crisis is done, they'll have 3 months to get the hell out. Then I can fix the damage they've done and move into my own home. Meanwhile, they're on benefits and can barely afford a damn meal. Never mind somewhere to live. I'm watching the calendar, waiting for my day to visit and serve an eviction notice. I'm not the good girl or the hero of this story, but I'm worth more than a $5. I worked for a large hotel chain and stole thousands of dollars in the process. I feel the need to get this off my chest because the consequences could have been huge if caught, and I'm so relieved I never was. I truly count my blessing when I think of this because my life could have been ruined, and I look back and wish I could tell myself I was being a dummy. I was employed for a very well-known hotel chain. This hotel offers complimentary breakfast coupons with some room packages. When I got hired, the servers had a practice of using these coupons to pocket cash payment. How this works is, someone leaves a coupon on the table with their cash tip and leaves without asking for a receipt. When someone else pays for their meal with cash, we use the extra coupon to comp the meal and pocket the cash. The servers taught us this, and the manager at the time turned the other cheek, as this was a way for us to pocket an extra $10 to $15 on average. We would have very slow summer season, so this would help out. Everyone knew about it but didn't say anything. Great! I wanted to move up to night bartending as breakfast hours no longer worked with my schedule. The night bartender had been there for years, so there was never going to be a position opening up. I moved to a different location within the hotel chain to bartend. This was the only place that worked with my new schedule and would hire a fresh bartender with zero experience. I worked by myself, and it was quickly clear to me that the managers did not give a crap about this bar. It was an amazing location and had great potential, but the money was completely bad. They didn't advertise and used radio music for starters. To make matters worse, I had to pay $80 a month for parking. Since I'm working by myself, it was easy to ring up a tab to see the amount due, but cancel it without submitting and keep the cash payment. No one around to tell on me except the cameras that were thankfully never watched. There were two separate bar locations and we had to tip pool. At first this was no problem because the other bar was making just as much as me. However, my bar was a special location. People came to me for an experience. I won't go into detail as to not out myself, but over time I would have some nights where I was getting slammed. I would finish the night with $200 or so in tips, only to find out that the other bar only made $20. That is $90 lost in one night. This became a regular thing. At first I started pocketing enough cash to pay for parking, but this wasn't enough anymore. I was making way less money than my previous location and getting screwed every night, so I slowly started taking more and more. In the end, I would live with anywhere from $20 to $200 in stolen cash a night. I worked a few nights a week for a few years. I did have a lot of anxiety and talked myself into stopping several times, but it really became addicting. I would stop for a few weeks and then some nights would be so slow I wouldn't make enough to even cover parking. They extended my hours working and I worked doubles between there and my morning job. I told myself if I was going to be a zombie and get no sleep, I would make it worth it. I had caught the other bartender doing the same thing, so I justified to myself that if they were going to make extra money on top of my money, I would make extra money too. I finally quit because I was stressed out about getting caught, but I would feel defeated when I would work my ass off just to give the other guy $100 of my hard-earned tips or not make enough to even pay for parking. I wanted to work a job where I could make money without doing something incredibly illegal. I'm proud of myself for getting out of that situation, but holy crap, I can't believe the amount of trouble I could have gotten myself into. I did the math for average amount taken and the number of nights I worked a week, and it comes out to about $7,700 per year. I'm a piece of crap, I know. Part of me snickers that I stuck it to the man without getting caught. The other part of me wants to go back in time and slap me as silly for doing something so dangerous when I could have switched both of my jobs long ago. I have a habit of staying where I'm comfortable and not leaving a workplace even if it's bad for me. Definitely have learned my lesson and I'm glad it wasn't the hard way. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe subscribe, maybe like. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.